are ready to invest. And like I said, I mean, there was spending a lot of time in school when everybody chose to go home. And I'm not saying don't go home, but my dad already told me when I got into school, and listen, I don't know anybody anywhere. Just go and study, and when you finish, whatever you get is what you get. There are people who have uncles and aunties to help them, no big deal. We're dancing to the sound of different drums. The drum I was dancing to was desperation. There is no future help coming from anywhere.
Okay.
So I better do it, by myself and look for, mentors and others. So my advice to any young person is don't think that school is just let's pass time, cram, pass and forget and graduate with a first class or 2-1 or 2-2. School is the foundation. That's why at the end of the day, most of your friends as an adult are people you met on campus.
Okay, now I need you to address something because of what you just said. School, it's what you put in, that's what you get.
Yes.
Now, there are some social influencers, or let's say musicians. You've heard of the what I call it, action, quote unquote, school NASCAR. You've heard of it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, do you think that's true?
Oh, it's true.
It's
True and it's false.
Please, okay. Now let me hear that.
It's
part.
true
because they need
because-
to use it as a tool to bring people out. Some young people don't want to go to school.
Oh yeah. And they have many reasons to not want to go to school. Because to be honest, if you look around, start from politicians to other role models. Did they get that from school? We're in Nigeria, where unfortunately we have a status-based economy that doesn't talk about process, but only talks about outcome. End justifies the means. But the problem is it's never sustainable. Politicians will lose elections. People who get opportunities through things that don't build on processes, they will lose favor. Perfect example, musicians, footballers and all that, who decided, you know what, school is not for me. When they get to the peak of their career, what did they do? Look at someone like Segun Odegbami, for example. They call him the mathematician for a reason. Because even though his football days were over, he could come back to do things based on what he studied in school and intelligence that came with that. So school is a scam in a way because it is possible for you to go through school and not get anything. But school no be scam. And I'm an example of that. And there are tons of people around the world who are examples of that. That if you go to school, what you're doing is you're picking knowledge. That when people who have opportunities finish expiring or expending all their opportunities, your knowledge, if they throw you in the desert, you use it to create more than what they had in their glory days. Which is where process matters. I was just talking to a few young people on Saturday, and I was saying to them that everybody sees the butterfly and we get excited. But what we don't realize, what we don't remember is that in biology we read about egg, larva, pupa, and then the cocoon. And that process is what gives the wings of the butterfly the strength to fly. It's the same thing with every training process. It is possible for you to arrive suddenly. Of course, you can, if you want to do your own and get arrested and get thrown into jail, you can do it. If you want to become a politician and steal, and one day God help you, that they catch you, it's okay. But there is the option of doing it right. There is the option of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before you get to 8. And with that option, nobody can send you to jail for your knowledge. It's not corruption. Nobody can suddenly say, oh, I don't like your face again. You're no longer in this appointed position. In fact, if they fire you, you go back, you dig into that knowledge. It is what you have eaten. It is what you have studied. It is what you have built as a process that helps you to fly.
Okay.
Someone asked me one day, he said, oh, Linda, you'll be part of initiative into a big organization.
In fact, that is where I'm coming. That's where I'm coming. So I don't want you to.
Okay.
So it's time for break. We're going to break, and when we return, we're going to be asking Gbenga Shesan how Paradigm Initiative came about. And this thing about electronic governance, I did a course like that in school, but we are going to wait for Gbenga to unleash all of that after this break. To stay with us.
School of Eloquence, our primary focus is on the art of public speaking because it's a major problem. And public speaking, we must understand, is the raw art of speaker to audience oral communication.
I got a lot more than I actually expected. I have overcome the few years I used to have.
The more you speak, the better you are with speaking.
School of Eloquence is the place you can be, and there's a turnaround. That change you are expecting, you get it there.
Welcome back, and many thanks for joining us on the program Career Success. Of course, I'm still in the studio with Gbenga Sheson, and he's been letting out nuggets on how to strengthen your youth while in school, or maybe like an entrepreneur or someone who have great aspirations. Welcome once again to the program.
Thank you so much.
So, Paradigm Initiative. When I was searching for you, it's just easy to get you online. I just went there and contacted Gbenga Sheson, and just came at Gbenga Sheson, Paradigm Initiative Nigeria, PIN. So I started reading. I'm like, I spent time, I read it through. I read it the next day. I came to the office and I just kept reading it rather, because I knew I was going to have this conversation with you. How did it come about?
So it started way back. While I was on campus, two things happened at the same time. So I learned about computers and the internet, and there was also the aspect of Black consciousness, like you know, as an African finding my way in the world. So I started a mailing list called Black Pioneers, and that was supposed to be for me my foray into the future. So it was mostly just for me to send information to people about Black people in the world and how they are pioneers and things like that. That eventually morphed into eNigeria. I call it eNigeria. eNigeria, because I thought then, okay, you know what, let's make Nigeria electronic and let's make it digital. But then the Nigerian government started a project called eNigeria. So I then changed the name to the nearest thing that came to my mind at the time, which was about, let's shift the paradigm. And I'm like, okay, paradigm is a good word, and what are we going to do? We're going to be doing some initiatives. Okay, so Paradigm Initiative it's called. But this was way back in 2001. So we were not registered, we were not even an organization. It was just a volunteer group of, I had a few friends of mine who would we knew how to use computers.
You
right?
convinced them to join you.
I didn't even have to convince them. They were like-minded people. You know how your friends are like-minded people. I mean, what do I need to tell Titi Akin Somi or Delu Ashai or Tokweshu to convince them? They were already, in the spirit, so to speak. We'll spend a weekend to go to a village somewhere in Oyo State, and we'll go and train people on how to use computers. We had a project called Afar, which is bridge in
For
Yoruba.
free?
Yes, for free. Because it was too exciting for us that we had this knowledge and we had to share. You know, when you've eaten and you have so much energy, you will run when there's sugar. So that was it for us. We honestly think of the commercial side of things too much. We did. I mean, we made money. We converted yearbooks into year CDs for people on campus, and we made money from it. So it was a balance. And I think it was because there was a sense in me that, I'm getting all these opportunities from Nigeria, from this digital opportunity, let me give back. So sometime in 2002, I did a competition and became Nigeria's IT Youth Ambassador. It was not an official ambassador role. It was just the name given by the Executive Cyber School. But because I also got a UN fellowship at the same time.
Okay.
Many people then thought I was a real ambassador, because I remember I would get some countries and they welcome me as an ambassador. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a real ambassador. And I'm trying to tell them, and maybe they thought I was being humble, but it grew a life of its own. Because myself and my friends we now had support, official support from the company, the Executive Cyber School, led by Engineer Chijometro. He gave us a bus and would give me money to take transportation to universities across Nigeria. And I did this for 2 years, going across Nigeria, training young people on how to use computers. Zara Baba in Kano, Enugu. I think we must have done at least 12 states, because I wrote about 12 states in my handover report. I handed over to someone called...
12 states, how many universities?
It must have been at least 25 universities, because I know in some states, in Lagos, for example, we did at least 3 or 4
We have
universities.
computer science departments in those universities.
We've always had computer science departments since the 70s. The question is, have we had impact from the graduates of those? And we have. In fact, one of them, Edward Popola, who I handed over to as IT Youth Ambassador, is the one who co-founded Cowrywise, one of those fintech companies now. And the interesting thing was that by 2002, like I said, someone met me at a presentation, introduced me to Junior Achievement. Semi wrote to me and was like, okay, come and visit. I came to visit, and I didn't know they were interviewing me for a job. So it was when I finished my exams that I got an email saying, look, following the series of interviews we had with you. And I'm like, okay, which interviews? But then it was an interview, and I really wanted to spend 1 year with them to do my youth service with them. But 1 year became 6 years, and after 6 years, I decided it was time to expand this vision beyond just the location in Butemeta where we're in Lagos for the Lagos
Is
Digital.
that how you entered Microsoft and the United Nations?
So Microsoft was the partner on the Lagos Digital Village project.
Okay.
So that was my first encounter with Microsoft. But then I got to do a few things with them, training with them much later. And for the United Nations, it was mostly in 2001 when I was invited for a meeting. I'd written some things about the future of the internet in Africa, and I was invited for a meeting, and then I went to that meeting. And I think this is a major lesson for everyone. In that meeting, I was a participant. I was not a speaker. I was supposed to attend, collect my per diem or allowance, and
Yes.
go back home. But I refused to do just that. I produced a newsletter every day. I listened to all the sessions, condensed them, produced a newsletter, and released it day 1, day 2, day 3. When I send it, and then when I go back home, I send them a report. The United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, I send them a report. This is what we did. These are the recommendations that
And
we
that's,
believe.
they didn't tell you to do that.
They didn't ask me to do it, but guess what? That was the last time I had to ask them to invite me. Every time since then, it was so much that they even asked me to come and serve. At the time, don't forget, I was how old was I in 2002? I was invited to come and chair, to be the vice chair for the African Technical Advisory Committee at the UN Economic Commission for Africa, because they saw it that this guy
Yes.
is a dangerous person, he's too passionate, and they needed to use that passion. That led to the World Summit on Information Society and led to many other UN things. But that was why in 2007 I was like, you know what, I need to turn this thing into an institution. I can't just do volunteer things here and there, while also, and to be fair, I was beginning to feel like I was cheating on junior achievement, because I was invited for Paradigm Initiative, Nigeria at the time, nice Paradigm Initiative, and I was working full time at junior achievement, and my bosses were wonderful, by the way, all women. And that was great. That introduced me all these things of thinking that some people can do some things and others can do some things. I didn't have that training. I saw men and women doing stuff, and that's what I still believe till tomorrow. The fact that my bosses were great and allowed me, they would say things like, "Oh, Benga, it's okay, go." When you go, junior achievement, when you give people your cards, they will see junior achievement and it's good branding for us. But I realized it wasn't fair. I was spending 20% of the time, increasingly 40%, at some point almost 60% of my time doing my thing as Benga Sheson. And the junior achievement was getting less time. So I decided it was time to go. So I resigned and then started Paradigm Initiative Nigeria at the time, 2007. We started in Ajegunle. We greeted
No.
to Nigeria.
Which is Ajegunle?
Ajegunle in Lagos.
Apapa Ajegunle.
Apapa Ajegunle, the one and only Ajegunle, AJ City. That's where we started.
Why Ajegunle?
Because I'd been invited to Ajegunle for the training, and it was different. Other places they invite me and ask questions like, "Oh, this computer, does it do the same thing like like a laptop?" In Ajegunle, the questions were different.
Wow.
This thing you have taught us, how do I make money from it? My sister doesn't have money to go to school. How does she go to school? And I thought this was practical. These guys are not playing around. They are not interested in the black box. They want to use it and make impact. So I decided to go back to train 25 people for 4 weeks and make sure they move from not having ever taught a computer to learning how to use it to make money. And then that became 2 years later. I decided, okay, let's do it a bit more. Another 3 years, we just said, you know what, we set up, in 2010, we set up an office, our very first office, 39 Pilot Street, Ajegunle, which in fact is now occupied by one of our trainees.
Because I know those places you mentioned.
Yeah, Ajegunle.
Ajegunle,
Yes.
no. Okay. Let me ask this question before I move to the next about digital rights and advocacy and e-government. What was pushing you? What was moving you that you couldn't just stay back? Like something was just drawing you on the inside.
I'm very selfish. I like my own space. I like peace of mind. So for me, I realized that I was trying to create a future for myself, for my family, and for my kids, and for my wife, who were different at the time. But there were challenges. There were questions people were asking and I didn't have answers to. Questions like, why should anyone get arrested for creating something innovative that others don't understand? So I started looking at policy a lot more. And I realized that a lot of countries in Africa were fighting what they didn't understand. Political leaders saw the internet as a threat. Like, oh my God, these young people are gathering online against us. I mean, a few years ago, Twitter was shut down in Nigeria because a president felt insulted and said, oh, they were gathering on Twitter to come and remove me. I mean, that obviously shows his ignorance. But the reality is, I'm like, I'm too selfish to have all these problems around me and not try to solve it. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what I can do. And I started doing some work. I started doing some writing. I wrote at the time what was in 2013. I wrote what I called Internet Freedom Declaration for Nigeria.
Okay.
But it didn't stop it. And that morphed into a bill. Then we converted it into a Declaration of Freedom bill.
What's
that
the
we presented.
objective of that?
Objective is to make sure that as we train young people, as they get access to computers, as they get access to the internet, that the online environment is not one where they will be afraid of what they need to do. Yes, there are bad actors that need to be punished for cybercrime and things like that. But if a young person goes online and says, my government is not doing well, they should do better, that is not a crime, that is contribution to democracy, and they should not be punished for it. And that was the motivation behind that, to say, listen, let's do something to make sure that the online environment, we focus more on innovation and not on clampdowns.
Now, I want to know some of the challenges you encountered, because it looks like so you don't get the picture like you were just moving, you saw mountains, you just skip over them, you saw challenges, you just wipe them off, and you just move on. What were the challenges that you encountered? Did you ever feel like throwing the towel?
Oh yeah, I actually threw in the towel many times. It's not even like I felt like I did. So when I started Black Pioneers, at some point I realized I was about to fail, and then I just stopped it completely and then focused on my studies. But the reality is that I am a product of challenges, in the sense that every challenge that I decided to tackle led me to what people called success. So for example, when there was a challenge of who is going to prove. So Nigeria had Canon One Core, and then JJ Okocha. So there was that year, around 1999, 2000, the lady who won the most beautiful girl in Nigeria, Albani Darego, they were all in the news. And somebody then said, wait a second, it's football and this. Why didn't we have a young Nigerian who is also intellectually savvy and that does something digital, so that the world knows that we also have digital promises. That was why they created that competition for who was going to be IT ambassador. It was a big challenge for me. I had no idea if I could win it. I got in there, designed the website, I put it on it. In those times we had diskettes.
Yes.
So I went to buy a CD on Lagos Island. I put the design on a CD. I put the CD in its case. I printed a back cover for it, and I put a seal. Do not break this seal unless authorized, because I see Microsoft software, that's the way you do it. So I packaged it. So packaging is also important. So one of the things, one of my biggest challenges is Nigeria. Because you're doing something and someone says, okay, calm down, you're not going to solve all of Nigeria's problems. But the reality is that challenge also presents an opportunity for me, because every time that someone realizes that, you did this in Ajegunle. Oh wow, yes. If you can do it in Ajegunle, you can do it, almost anywhere else. And other challenges, including finances. At some point, I didn't get money. Yes. So I had to go deep into myself, find my skills, and then use those skills to make money, demonstrate what I can do with the money that I put down by myself, and then ask other people, bring resources. Let's do this work together.
I see. Now, what advice do you have for the young Nigerians out there who feel like throwing in the towel many times? You said you did throw in the towel, but obviously went back to pick it up.
Oh yeah, pick the towel every time. So my first advice is always go back to pick the towel. It's fine. If you are tired, take the day off. Just go and sleep. Relax. When your brain is calm, then come back, pick the towel again. And realize that many times, success is on point 9, we give up on point 7. Many times, when you work just a bit harder, meet the right set of people, get introduced in the right set of spaces, you will get closer to success. And what I say to people is that even if you don't achieve success, the way people define success, as long as you know you are learning, you're picking up new skills, maybe worst case scenario, you write about a book about it one day, or you start teaching and you make money from it. But this is not just about money or resources. This is about defining, this is me right now, point A. This is point B, where I would like to be. What do I need to learn to move from A to B? Who are the people I need to meet as mentors, as peers, to get me from point A to B? What are the things I need to stop doing for me to get from point A to B? And in between A and B, when you feel like throwing, throwing in the towel, when you feel like giving up, remind yourself that the destination is point B, and that when you get to point B, there's still point C to go to. And of course, to be honest, every time you get to point B, you rest, you celebrate yourself, but that's not, who cares? Then you go to point C. And that journey in itself is a big reward for any young person, because then you can peacefully sit anywhere and say, like the lizard that dropped, that yes, even if nobody else praises me, I have done what I want to do, and I'm not stopped.
Are you satisfied? 1. 2. Are you satisfied with the level where you've gotten to as long as career success is concerned? And if you are, what's the next thing for you?
My answer is always yes and no. Yes, because I look back and I'm like, oh wow, we've come far. But then I look ahead again and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much to do. So for me, yes, I feel, obviously I feel very fulfilled. I love what I do what I love. So I'm lucky. But I also look ahead and I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot. Paradigm Initiative just finished drawing up our next 5-year plan, 2024 to 2028. And that's the next step for me. We've literally covered 28 countries and more across the continent. Now we've seen calls from areas in the global south, from Latin America, from Southeast Asia, asking to have a taste of what we have. And that's the next challenge for me, making Paradigm Initiative not just a Pan-African organization, but a global south organization.
I see. Thank you so much, Benga, for your time, for joining us today and sharing your incredible story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Very much welcome. And that's an inspiring conversation with Benga Sheson. So we're all in good hands, leaders at the end of affairs. And that's all for today's episode for Career Success on Achievement Channel. However, I'm going to want to get Mr. Benga Sheson's commitment to this. I want to say we didn't get much. As much as I think if we let you go and not invite you back, we'll be losing a lot more. So please, you don't want to give that because of your time.
I'll give the commitment to say let's find a time as long as it's mutually convenient.
Yes, that will be a part 2 of our conversation, and we are going to name it Part 2 Conversation: Career Success with Benga Sheson. Until I see you again in another episode. It's Career Success. Have a great day.
Good day and welcome to Achievement News right on the Achievement Channel, Nigeria's first 100% motivational television. My name is Comfort Idongese Basi, your guide through the stories of triumph, innovation and positive impact shaping our world. Broadcasting live from our School of Eloquence studio in Ikoyi, Lagos, we bring you news that truly inspires. At Achievement News, we believe in celebrating human ingenuity, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of progress. We sift through the headlines to bring you the breakthroughs, the milestones, and the uplifting narratives that prove that possibilities are abound and true achievement is within reach for everyone. We start with positive economic news from home. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry (LCCI) has expressed optimism following the National Bureau of Statistics report confirming a modest drop in Nigeria's headline inflation rate. In May 2025, inflation eased to 22.97%, down from 23.71% in April. LCCI has hailed this as a positive, albeit modest new shift after several months of persistent increases, attributing it to its consistent monetary tightening by the Central Bank of Nigeria. This indicates that policy efforts are beginning to yield tangible results. Even small positive shifts can bring immense relief and hope. This reminds us to stay resilient and adaptable in our personal finances, always seeking ways to maximize value and minimize waste. We see possibilities. Adding to our economic good news, major global financial institutions are giving a thumbs up to Nigeria's economic trajectory. The World Bank recently issued a positive verdict projecting 3 years unbroken growth for Nigeria, with rates of 3.6% in 2025, 3.7% in 2026, and 3.8% in 2027. Furthermore, Fitch Ratings has upgraded Nigeria's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating from negative to stable. This endorsement signals increasing investor confidence, directly linked to Nigeria's ongoing economic reforms, including exchange rate liberalization and fuel subsidy removal, which have also contributed to the stabilization of the naira. Global recognition of our economic resilience highlights the power of consistent, strategic efforts. Keep pushing for your own growth, no matter the headwinds. Your consistency builds your future. We see possibilities. From economic progress to a greener future, the global renewable energy sector is buzzing with exciting innovations for sustainable constructions. Recent breakthroughs include the development of compact, efficient residual wind turbines, widespread solar canopies designed to power electric vehicles, and even cutting-edge sand batteries for advanced energy storage. These innovations aim to revolutionize construction, making it more eco-friendly and significantly enhancing energy resilience worldwide. Innovation is the bridge to a sustainable future. Look for creative ways to integrate sustainable practices into your own life and work. Every small eco-conscious choice contributes to a greener world. We see possibilities. Further proving technology's power for good, a brilliant waste monitoring innovation has recently clinched the prestigious EUTech SDG award. This groundbreaking project, developed by Adastra, utilizes lot chips and smart platforms to meticulously track plastic bottle recycling efficiency starting in the Czech Republic. By providing transparent real-time data, this technology is significantly improving waste disposal strategies and highlighting how digital solutions can solve pressing environmental challenges on a global scale. Every problem is an opportunity for innovation. Your creativity can transform challenges into solutions, creating a positive impact that cleans up our world, one smart idea at a time. We see possibilities.
of eloquence, teaching the world to speak.
Tune in again for more achievement news, your daily source of positivity. Visit us at www.achievementchannel.com and join the movement hashtag We See Possibilities. That's all the achievement news for today. Remember, every day brings new opportunities for growth, progress, and impact. Keep achieving, keep inspiring, and most importantly, keep believing in the power of possibilities. I'm Comfort Idongse Basi, wishing you a truly impactful day.
Welcome to another empowering episode of Inspire Her, where we have healthy and meaningful conversations about women supporting women. We spotlight women who are breaking boundaries, defying expectations, and making their voices heard. I'm Tracy Dominic, and today we will be having courageous conversations, women who are challenging the status quo. And I cannot think of two more fitting guests to share their stories with us today. Joining us are two women who have consistently stepped out of their comfort zones to challenge societal norms and also create lasting impact. First, we have Pamela Egbo, a remarkable entrepreneur and founder of Anna and Hugh Limited. Pamela is also the former executive director of the O.B. Jackson Foundation, where she led various initiatives that broke new ground in philanthropy. And secondly, with us also is Atunuke Ojenima, a leadership development expert, human resource professional, and business consultant. Atunuke has dedicated her entire career to nurturing and grooming the next generation of African leaders, and her work speaks volume about breaking through barriers. Today, we'll be having that powerful discussion with these two courageous women. Okay, amazing ladies, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's actually lovely having you two here on Inspire Her. How are you doing?
Great, thank you for having me.
Thank you. How are you doing, Atunuke?
Good.
Good, right?
I mean, being alive.
Yes, yes.
The gift of breathing, of being alive. I mean, I feel good with that.
You know, in our Nigeria today, when you ask someone, how are you doing? Are you really ready to hear the answer to that question? Because
yes.
The economy have honestly pushed a lot of us Nigerians.
Yeah.
And how have you been coping? Let's just talk generally now as Nigerians. How have you been coping as women, especially in your family, and also trying to meet up with expectations? Let me start with you, Pamela.
To be honest, it's been quite difficult, just generally. I think for me, I feel very blessed, just as Atunuke said, to wake up every day and have a home to live in, a roof over my head. And so my basic day-to-day needs are taken care of. But I'm very cognizant of the fact that there are not people as lucky as I am. And seeing, I think it's a time in Nigeria where we have to be very sensitive to people who don't have what we have or are not in those positions, and see how we can help. Because take the petrol prices, for instance, just filling your car. My car has gone from 12,000 a week to almost 70,000 every week to fill it. I mean, it's not even sustainable at this point. So, but I find reasons to be grateful every day. And I'm very intentional right now about seeing ways I can help people who are not as fortunate, even if it's giving my driver food in the mornings to release that pressure, or just being very cognizant about helping people at this point.
What about you, Atunuke? What has been your journey through
you
that?
didn't have to even extend it to the situation in Nigeria when I said that, the gift of waking up every morning alone, it's something that one should be grateful for. Why? Because they say that when there is life, there is hope, right? And then there's also this thing in terms of hope, that if God has not given up on us, you know, as a country, then why should we as individuals give up on Nigeria? So that our waking up every morning, for me, I see it as a promise to say that, you know, we have a role to play individually. And from there, I would take it up from what Pamela said about helping people. So now when I meet people and everyone, you know, I just tell them, I say, see, the situation of this country, the situation that we found ourselves now, it's if we do not have the political power, right, or we're not leaders in government, right? There's so many expectations that we have as citizens from our government, that government should do this and that. So if we do not have such power or position to effect changes in our lives, the best changes or help that we could do for one another is to live in consideration, you know, and give support at the capacity that we can, and do what we should part time. So I mean, we have these people around us. Don't even go outside your compound. Maybe your gate man, your driver, your laundryman, you know, they have families. So that's your own Nigeria. And how are you helping those people? How are you, I mean, you know, governing your own home? So I think that is very essential with the situation of the country. And talking about the situation of the country, I think that we are on our own developmental journey. It's a journey, so there will be some times that it's going to be high, and there will be some times that it's going to be low, and there will be times that it's going to be even, you know, and whatsoever past glory that Nigeria had, I think that what we are doing now, we are going on a journey of progress. All right, so all the encouragement that we need as women, as families, as a people, I'm of the opinion that we should be there to support ourselves, you know, providing, encouraging, and inspiring everyone.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. What you said about phases, even as a country, we go through these phases. And this phase we actually,
I mean, you wanted to say as individuals, as individuals in our own personal lives, right? Fantastic.
Yes, because
now when you go talk of the life of a nation.
Because when you go to the market now and you just come back and you're like, what did you even buy to exhaust all the money, right? And you're thinking to yourself, it's like it went from bad to worse to worse all the time. But just like you said, hope is what we all need. I think it's very important. I found that helping people actually give them hope. It gives them hope to keep going and actually look forward to what lies ahead. Okay, so let's go in depth into the conversation now. Atinuke, can you take us through your journey as a human resource professional and a leadership expert? You've been in the field for decades, more than 1-2 decades now. So what has inspired you through this journey? And what has helped you challenge the status quo?
Okay, so I think I can tell my story as a girl child, right, as a female, as a woman, and then talking about inspiration to answer that question. I think I can take that story away in my entire life's journey, and that's the story of my father. I have a father, because he's still alive, I have a father who would tell me that, okay, I want you to grow up to be a notable woman. I don't want you to be a kind of woman that a man would beat at his chest. Find self. You get to have some clarity and direction as to where you want to be, what you want to do, and you know, everything stems from knowing who you are. That's when you find self. So it wasn't so difficult for me to find myself, you know, because I had the parental support. And talking about Inspire, I think we should talk a little, because women, culturally, women are meant to be, you know, the ones putting the family together, right? So but I think that such things should start from such inspiration should start from the family, you know. How are we able to support our children to ensure that they are confident in who they are, so that they can navigate their life more purposefully and more decisively, right? So that's up to me, purposefully and decisively. So my journey, oh gosh, let's not go there for today, but I would just say that finding self helped me a lot in my journey. I didn't have clarity as to what it was, but I had an idea of who I wanted to be. And maybe in the course of the conversation, I'll be bringing it in here and there.
Yes, self-awareness, parental guide, very important. Do you relate to that, Pamela? What has been your own inspiration through your journey as a philanthropy and also your journey as a business leadership expert?
I think for me, I think I'm still on that journey. I don't think that I've arrived. I think that I'm a big believer that we have seasons in life. And in my own journey, I'm in a different season now. But I think along the way, what's helped me is to always have an open mind to learn and understand that in your journey, as in whatever you're trying to do, a business person or just working a regular 9 to 5, you will have ebbs and flows. So you will have lows, you will have highs. It won't be very easy. Sometimes it might be easier. And I think what has shaped me particularly, I lived abroad for many years, lived in England for over 35 years, and I just got back 3 years ago. And what's helped me is just knowing that those experiences living abroad shaped who I was. Particularly, I was, for the most part, learning along the way with my business as a single mother, because I went through a divorce. And so that shaped my path, really. I think that if that didn't happen, I might be on a different journey. But that's the journey I found myself, and I had to pivot and kind of navigate my way through it and say, okay, this is where I find my life right now. How do I make it better in this particular season that I find myself? So it's been an interesting journey, but I am still learning and still growing through it.
It's actually quite an interesting and unique one. So what would you say is that one strategy that you had to take to move you forward in that journey?
Yeah, so I think at the time, living in England, like I said, I found myself suddenly a single mother. My daughter was 18 months at the time, and I wanted to be that mother that was there for my child. I did not want to be a mother that would leave her in, obviously living in England, you have those luxuries of, I could leave her at a childcare or a nursery, but I didn't want to be that mother who I only saw my daughter early in the morning, drop her off, pick her up. So I had to pivot. I have to think, how can I live and earn an income without having to do a 9 to 5 job? And so that started my journey of entrepreneurship, where I was able to start a skincare company called Hannah and Hugh. In fact, I started another company before that called Mums with Tots.